There are people who walk into every beautiful moment already preparing for the ending. They smile at love, but somewhere inside, they are already rehearsing heartbreak. They get a new job, but instead of excitement, their mind whispers, "Don't get too comfortable. Something will go wrong." They hear silence from a friend and instantly assume distance, rejection, betrayal. They receive happiness like someone borrowing something fragile, careful, suspicious, never fully relaxed, because they are convinced life will eventually ask for it back. You may know someone like this. Maybe, if you are honest, you are this person. Maybe you are the one who reads too deeply into short text messages, the one who feels nervous when things are going too well, the one who keeps emotional exits ready, just in case, the one who says, "I'm just being realistic," when others call you negative, the one who struggles to trust peace because chaos has always felt more familiar. People often misunderstand this kind of person. They call them pessimistic, difficult, overthinkers, negative thinkers, people who need to relax. But psychology tells a much deeper story. Most people who expect the worst are not trying to be negative. They are trying to survive. Because expecting the worst is rarely about attitude. It is usually about memory. It is the nervous system remembering what the conscious mind is trying to forget. It is the heart saying, "Last time I trusted, I got hurt. Last time I relaxed, everything collapsed. Last time I believed someone, I paid for it." And so the brain learns a dangerous lesson. Safety is not found in hope. Safety is found in preparation. Pain teaches fast, especially emotional pain. A child who grows up in an unpredictable home learns to scan rooms before entering them. They learn tone before words. They can hear anger in footsteps, disappointment in silence, rejection in the way someone closes a door. They become experts at emotional weather, not because they are gifted, because they had to be. If love came with conditions, if affection could disappear without warning, if peace was temporary and tension was normal, then expecting the worst becomes less of a mindset and more of a survival skill. That child becomes an adult. And now they are sitting across from someone who genuinely loves them, but they keep waiting for abandonment. They are in a stable job, but they cannot stop fearing failure. They are finally safe, but their body does not believe it. Because the body keeps score long after the danger is gone. This is one of the cruelest parts of trauma. Even when life changes, your internal alarm system may not. You can leave the fire and still smell smoke. You can be loved and still feel unsafe. You can be surrounded by peace and still prepare for war. This is why some people sabotage good things without meaning to. Not because they want pain, because pain feels predictable, and predictable feels safer than uncertainty. If someone has been disappointed enough times, hope starts to feel dangerous. Hope creates vulnerability. Hope means believing. Believing means risk. And risk feels like standing unarmed in front of something that has hurt you before. So instead, they choose emotional armor. They say things like, "I knew this would happen." Not because they wanted it to happen, because being surprised by pain hurts more than expecting it. Expectation becomes protection. Disappointment feels smaller when you rehearsed it first. Psychologists sometimes connect this to something called defensive pessimism. It is when a person lowers expectations intentionally, preparing mentally for negative outcomes so they can feel more in control. On the surface, it looks like negativity. Underneath, it is anxiety trying to create certainty. If I imagine every bad possibility, maybe none of them can destroy me. It sounds irrational, but emotionally, it makes sense. The brain does not prioritize happiness. It prioritizes survival. Your mind would rather make you anxious and alive than calm and vulnerable. This is why some people ruin peaceful moments with overthinking. A happy relationship becomes a search for hidden red flags. A compliment becomes suspicion. Success becomes fear of losing it. Rest becomes guilt. Joy becomes temporary. Even love becomes a threat. Because when someone matters deeply, losing them becomes a possibility your mind cannot ignore. And for people shaped by emotional instability, attachment often feels like danger disguised as comfort. They love hard, but they trust slowly, sometimes never fully. You will notice it in small things. They ask, "Are you mad at me?" even when nothing is wrong. They apologize too much. They prepare for rejection before conflict even happens. They distance themselves first so abandonment hurts less. They test loyalty without realizing it. They leave emotionally before anyone else can leave physically. And then people say, "Why are? Do you like this?" As if behavior exists without history. As if reactions grow in empty rooms. No one wakes up one day and decides to fear happiness. Usually, they learned it. From betrayal, from inconsistency, from emotional neglect, from promises that broke, from parents who loved them but did not know how to make them feel safe, from relationships where affection became manipulation, from friendships where loyalty had an expiration date, from being blindsided too many times. There is a phrase many people carry silently: "Good things never last for me." That sentence can shape an entire life. It can make someone suspicious of kindness. It can make them reject opportunities before trying. It can make them choose emotionally unavailable people because disappointment feels familiar there. It can make peace feel boring and chaos feel like chemistry. It can make healing feel uncomfortable because dysfunction was home. This is not weakness. It is conditioning. And conditioning is powerful. The mind builds rules based on repeated emotional experiences. If love repeatedly led to pain, the rule becomes, love is dangerous. If vulnerability repeatedly led to humiliation, the rule becomes, never open fully. If success repeatedly attracted pressure, the rule becomes, stay small, stay safe. These rules are often invisible. People do not say them out loud. They live them, quietly, daily, until they no longer realize they are choices. They feel like truth. This is why healing is so difficult. Because healing is not just learning something new. It is questioning what once kept you alive. It is telling your nervous system, I know this protected us before, but it is hurting us now. That takes time and courage. Because for someone who expects the worst, optimism does not feel inspiring. It feels irresponsible. Imagine telling someone who survived emotional storms their whole life to simply think positive. It feels insulting. Like asking a soldier to forget war because the sun is shining today. Their caution was earned. Their fear has evidence. Their anxiety has receipts. Healing does not begin by mocking fear. It begins by understanding it. There is also a strange loneliness in being the person who always expects the worst. Because even when surrounded by people, you often feel emotionally separate. Others seem lighter, more trusting, more spontaneous. They fall in love without interrogating every detail. They believe compliments. They trust good news. They rest without waiting for disaster. And you watch them like someone observing a language you were never taught. You wonder what it feels like to be emotionally safe inside your own mind, to receive peace without suspicion, to sleep without mental rehearsals of loss, to love without preparing for grief, to be present instead of protected. Some people become so used to emotional vigilance that peace feels unnatural. Silence feels like a warning. Calm feels like the pause before disaster. Healthy love feels boring because it lacks the adrenaline of inconsistency. They confuse anxiety with passion, uncertainty with attraction, emotional chaos with depth, because the nervous system often mistakes familiarity for safety, even if that familiarity is pain. This is why people sometimes return to what hurts them, not because they enjoy suffering, because the unknown feels scarier than the familiar wound. A toxic relationship may feel more emotionally understandable than a healthy one. At least, there, the rules make sense. You know when the silence means distance. You know when affection is temporary. You know how to survive there. Healthy love requires trust. And trust is terrifying for people who learn that love and pain often arrive holding hands. Sometimes these people become hyper-independent. They stop expecting from others entirely. They tell themselves, I only need me. It sounds strong. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is grief wearing confidence, because needing no one can be. Less about strength and more about disappointment. If dependence once led to pain, independence becomes emotional self-defense. But humans are not built for permanent emotional isolation. Even the strongest people need softness, need witness, need safe places to be unfinished. The tragedy is that people who expect the worst are often the same people who love the deepest, because they know loss. They notice details others ignore. They appreciate consistency like oxygen. They remember small kindnesses because kindness once felt rare. They protect people fiercely because they know what abandonment feels like. They are not cold, they are careful, and there is a difference. Sometimes, beneath all the overthinking, there is simply someone asking one quiet question. Is it finally safe for me to believe this is real? That question sits inside relationships, careers, friendships, even self-worth. Can I trust this love? Can I trust this peace? Can I trust myself? Can I stop preparing for pain long enough to actually live? That is the real battle, not negativity. Permission. Permission to hope. Permission to rest. Permission to believe that not every beautiful thing is temporary, but hope is frightening when disappointment has history. Some people would rather predict pain than risk surprise. At least pain you expect feels manageable. Unexpected pain feels like betrayal. So they stay emotionally ahead of disaster, always scanning, always bracing, always translating silence into endings. It is exhausting and often invisible. People praise them for being strong, not realizing strength and hypervigilance can look identical from the outside. They function, they work, they show up, they smile. But inside, their mind is a security system that never turns off, even at night, especially at night. That is when the mind gets loud, when distractions leave, when memories walk in uninvited, when old voices return, when every unresolved fear asks for attention. Night is difficult for people who expect the worst because darkness gives anxiety room to speak, and anxiety is convincing. It does not sound dramatic. It sounds prepared. It sounds wise. It says, I'm just trying to protect you. And protection is hard to argue with. But there is a difference between protection and imprisonment. Sometimes the walls we build to stay safe become the same walls that keep life out. Love cannot fully enter a house built entirely around escape routes. Peace cannot stay where suspicion lives in every corner. Healing begins when a person realizes, I am not only afraid of pain, I am also afraid of joy, because joy asks for presence, and presence requires vulnerability. To fully enjoy something, you must stop predicting its ending for a moment. You must let yourself be here. Now, not later, not in the imagined disaster. Here. That sounds simple. For some people, it feels like the hardest thing in the world, because presence means lowering the shield. And some shields have been worn so long they feel like skin. Still, there is hope, not the loud, motivational kind, the quiet kind, the kind that arrives slowly, the kind that says maybe safety is not the absence of pain, but the ability to survive it without losing yourself. Maybe trust is not certainty. Maybe it is choosing connection despite uncertainty. Maybe healing is not becoming fearless. Maybe it is learning that fear does not have to make every decision. People who always expect the worst are often carrying old versions of themselves into new rooms. The child who was not protected, the teenager who was betrayed, the adult who learned too late that love can lie. They are all still there, whispering caution. Healing does not silence them by force. It listens, then gently says, thank you for trying to protect me, but I do not live there anymore. That sentence can change a life, not instantly, but honestly, because healing is rarely dramatic. It is repetitive. It is choosing not to assume abandonment. Today, it is sending the text instead of disappearing. It is receiving kindness without immediately distrusting it. It is staying when your instinct says run. It is letting someone love you in the language of consistency. It is learning that peace is not a trap. It is understanding that not every closed door is rejection. Not every silence is anger. Not every delay is abandonment. Not every ending is proof that love was fake. Sometimes people leave because life changes. Sometimes silence means tiredness, not hatred. Sometimes distance is geography, not betrayal. Sometimes your mind is protecting you from a danger that no longer exists. And learning that distinction is one of the deepest forms of freedom. Because eventually, the goal is not to become blindly positive. It is to become emotionally honest. To say, yes, bad things can happen, but good things can happen too. To stop giving fear the final vote. To let reality be reality, instead of forcing it to match old wounds. To understand that preparation is useful, but paranoia is expensive. And maybe most importantly, to stop punishing present people for past pain. That is hard, because trauma makes generalizations. One betrayal becomes everyone leaves. One humiliation becomes I should never open up. One heartbreak becomes love always ends badly. But healing asks for specificity. That person hurt me, not everyone. That season broke me, not every future. That pain was real, but it is not prophecy. This is how people slowly stop expecting the worst, not by pretending pain never existed, but by refusing to let pain become identity. They begin to understand, I am cautious, but I do not have to be closed. I am sensitive, but I do not have to be afraid of love. I have been hurt, but I am still allowed happiness. I survived disappointment, and survival does not have to be my only personality. There is a beautiful maturity in someone who learns this, someone who still believes after evidence against it, someone who chooses softness after hardness, someone who stays kind after betrayal, someone who risks trust again. That is not weakness. That is courage in its purest form, because cynicism is easy. Vulnerability is brave. And sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is stop asking, what if it all goes wrong? And start asking, what if for once it goes right?